Bum 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 bum.
Everybody, welcome back to the One Kacha podcast. My name is Kandwani, as you know, and I'm joined in the studio today with the lovely
Muvanga Ngosa.
Just Mubanga Ngosa.
Depends how well you know me.
I know you very well, so
Yeah, just Muvanga Ngosa.
well, Just Mubanga Ngosa. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm very excited to have you joining us today. So, you've heard and thankfully edited the first episode of the podcast.
Oh, yes.
What are your thoughts?
I'm into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very informative, very fun, and very entertaining podcast.
And you are not paid to make those statements.
No, I was not paid to make those statements.
Hashtag sponsored. Post. Anyway, so yes, this is the One Kacha podcast, and over here we like to start off with a blessing. I wouldn't say blessing of the week because the podcast is not every week just yet, but we will be doing it every second Thursday. So it'll just be a Thursday, skip a Thursday, then the next Thursday. Because over here, we are trying to make Thursdays great again. Thursdays are not just for your throwback Thursdays.
Nah.
A Thursday is a day you should appreciate because it's the day before the Friday
Oh, yes.
and the day after the Wednesday. So appreciate your Thursdays.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But anyway, the blessing of the week is Oliver Mtukudzi. So this was Zimbabwe's illustrious son who passed away earlier this month. And he is a renowned musician. I don't know too much of his catalog, but I know I did grow up listening to his music. So.
Oh, yeah. This is pretty big, if anything.
No,
like,
he
it's
is.
really huge, if anything. Like, because
Yeah.
I remember was it last year or so, he actually performed in Vancouver. Did he show up in Vancouver?
I have no idea, but I know he did go to China.
Yeah.
I mean, this man has toured the world.
He
so.
really has, which I find like pretty insane because like you have on the same scale that you have like people like the Beatles and like Mick Jagger or whatever. We also have like our African like rock stars, for lack of a better term, and if anything, he is one of the like our very own. Like, I mean, like, he's from Zimbabwe, but, Africa's very own,
Yeah,
like, rock star.
And, I mean, in today's day and age, we do have Nigerian musicians dominating the market, but this was someone from, I say, Southern Africa who is very true to his roots and his instrument. So I just hear that he had more than 60 albums and a career that spanned 45 years. He died at 66, so he started at 21.
21.
Yeah, 21. But, yes, so we just want to pay... Is it homage to this great musician, and we hope that he can rest in power and peace. So thank you, Tuku, for all the memories, the good music.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what any of his songs mean.
Neria. Oh, Manga, you are lost.
No, the one I'm thinking of is the 20.
Yeah, everyone knows that one. That's a good
like
one.
that's what the one.
Everyone knows at least one.
At least one. Like yeah. Like that's the one that I know, because back in my in my musical career days,
Yes.
I had this idea of sampling traditional African songs and then putting them to a bit of a hip hop theme, like a bit of an Afrofusion type thing. And I did a Oliver Mtukudzi like mashup of sorts, and I feel like that was my introduction into like fusion music, if anything. So I do,
That's good.
some of my.
I did listen to one that you sampled. It still pops up in my playlist, and I love it. Please make
The
more
return of Too Fresh.
Yes, the return of Too Fresh. But anyway, so we will now move on. It's kind of a lighthearted topic, but it does lead into something bigger. But there's just an article here that says social media tax forced 3 million Ugandans off internet for 3 months, according to the UCC report. So I believe the Ugandan government introduced an over-the-top tax, commonly known as a social media tax, in July of 2018. So the report was, presented earlier this year, and I believe people were charged, a small fee on top of their talk time every time they went on social media. And this was, I believe, the main reason was to reduce people's use of social media, because African governments are not a huge fan, citing Western influence and all of that. And of course, people are using virtual private networks, VPNs, to get around it. But what do you think of governments interfering with people's access to the internet?
I feel like in any case, like especially in like places with like a bit of like a political instability, like anytime the government like tries to involve themselves in like stopping people from using social media, there's always going to be a way around it, and usually it's because they want to stop people from like speaking up against the government. It's usually something like like somebody like countries are mistreating like the poorest or the youth, or targeting a specific like section, like especially in Africa, or like I haven't been in a while, so I can't really say as much. But the LGBTQ community is really not exactly accepted in a lot of places. So like these are when you hear stories of like people getting arrested, people getting beaten, people getting like murdered and things like that. So
Facts.
like it's really old people trying to stop progress, if anything.
But these old people be on Facebook, so
Yeah, which is
I don't know.
like it's hurting. It's being stuck in. I don't want to sound like like a spoiled millennial, like a snowflake of sorts, but like yeah like they're stuck in the past. Like they want the progress, they want the technology to boom and everything, but then they see that it can also be used to benefit others in the way that might not benefit them, and then they start saying, no, we'll charge you for it because we can afford it and you can't.
That is true.
I mean, to be fair, it could be coming from like a place of social media is bad, because I do believe social media isn't the best thing out there.
No, you don't believe in it?
Because there's an article that I actually saw. It's like people, like let's say cigarette companies were saying that in 20 years or so, like we're going to see social media or cell phones the same way we see like how people were addicted to like smoking. Like smoking was something that was like advertised by cartoons and things like that, and now it's like no, it's not advertised. Like there are laws against advertising, and like you can see some kind of correlation in that.
No, I do, because I remember earlier this week I saw an article, because I think the I don't want to say the EU because of Brexit, but either the UK or they have much tighter laws over there regarding, I guess, advertising and what media companies can present, because you have to take into consideration the audience. You are trying to sell things, but you also have people who are young and easily impressionable youth. But I think there was a young girl who committed suicide, either because of something she saw on Facebook or whatever. So they're actually trying to hold Facebook accountable for the content that is created. So I get it when you say that. It's good and it's bad, but I think Facebook was one of the worst things to ever happen to the human race, because it does play on the fact that human beings are social creatures. But this constant need to want to know what someone from your primary school years ago is up to, it's not necessary.
True.
It's not.
Like honestly, just delete your Facebook.
I've tried, but it's
I'm going to. What do you honestly use Facebook for?
to greet my old classmate from primary school.
Like, wait, isn't it that we lose like half of your friends every 4 years?
No, that's true. I know. I barely talk to people. Okay, yeah, right. I don't know what my hesitation is, but for me, it's Facebook is almost a directory. Like when you think of like an old telephone directory that you have, I don't have everyone's number, but if I want to get a hold of someone, I can find them on Facebook and send them a message. So I don't post there as much, but I use it in that way.
Because Facebook has just been all this data mining.
No, I know.
All this.
The safest way to not have your data on Facebook is to delete your account. Like you can change all of your privacy settings, but the safest way is to just delete your account.
I'm honestly gonna delete Facebook. There's nothing. I don't do anything on Facebook. It's there for. The only reason I still have a Facebook account is because like it's again that fear of missing out.
Exactly.
Like, which again you don't need.
No.
And the worst thing is like like Facebook also owns WhatsApp and Twitter. Is it Twitter?
Don't they own Instagram too?
Oh yeah, Instagram
I
and
thought they
WhatsApp.
messed up because you saw that thing about them trying to like merge them, so you're able to message someone like across all three platforms,
Oh.
which we just don't need. I'm sure the people in at the Facebook HQ are just seated and they're like, how can we make a good thing bad?
Like,
Please bring back the chronological order of the Instagram timeline.
oh my god.
Bring that back. Please.
Bring back like everything as it was posted in
Yeah.
time. Okay.
Because I don't even see some of my friends' posts, and now I just look like a hater because
It's
I
like-
don't be liking their stuff.
You get that message, yo, did you see my post? I'm like, nah.
No, I don't get a message, but they just something I'm like, my friend went here, and I didn't see it when it happened.
Oh wow. Also like, I guess with our age range, Facebook is for like figuring out who's getting married, who's
Oh, there's that.
like you get
No,
the official like
There was
notification.
legit a time when every time I would log in to see that this person just got engaged to this person. And I'm just like, okay, life. Okay, life.
I think like everybody I know from high school
Is married
It's
and
like-
has a baby?
married, has a baby, or is like done with school. Like, it's just
When are you going to have a baby?
oh, okay. To be honest, to be like 100%, I am 90% sure I don't want kids.
90?
75.
75?
Okay, with the whole global warming situation and climate change, like all reports are saying most of the earth is going to be inhabitable in like 20 years.
Don't you want to see what a mini you would look like? No?
It would be an interesting thing to see, but again, I don't want to bring somebody into a world that's like on fire.
fair. But you didn't ask to be born either, so you have to
True.
return that favor.
True. I would honestly, I think I'm honestly leaning towards adopting.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like I'm not saying no kids, it'd just be me and my spouse, but
So you have a spouse. Anyway, yes, you can adopt. Yes.
yeah, most likely adoption.
Is a good way to go.
Plus, I feel like, if technology has come far, worst case scenario, like if the time comes, we can always like freeze an egg or two, get like have that.
You
option.
can have a kid at any time.
Mm-hmm. That's
So-
what I'm thinking. Like, we could, if the world decides to, pull up its socks and, like get on top of climate change. I do feel like we are gonna get on top of climate change. It might be,
Not with Donald Trump,
yeah,
but continue.
yeah. Like I feel like it's gonna be a little too late, but the human race is the human race is quite resilient. Yeah, like we will find some way. We'll be living in domes or something.
Oh,
'Cause
we'll
I
go
don't-
to Mars.
Sure, I know something will happen. Like there will be some fix. I don't think our extinction is this close.
Okay, so
So
getting back to what we're discussing, which is social media.
social media, yes.
I feel social media is good. Like, there's lots of people who've been able to make a living off of social media. So I guess how companies market has changed, and it's so much easier now when you have these people who appear to be relatable and not just celebrities selling a product. But a downside is, we all just put our best foot forward. No one would really ever really truly be like, having a sad day, I have $5 in my account, I got rejected
And
or
so
got
forth.
fired today. You see, no one is ever that real. And I mean, you curate it. So there's some people who like use social media to promote their art. Then there's some people who are promoting a lifestyle, like there's influencers. Then other people, it's just really like a photo album, I guess, that you share with your friends or your followers. And then there's some people who are just creating a whole new world to escape the world that they're in right now. So I don't know. I never used to believe the extent that people would go to just to like front on social media. But that's an apparent thing. So that's also why people should never take everything they see seriously. Take it with a grain of salt, because you don't know. That's just a picture in the moment.
Yeah, you don't know what lengths people are going to post that picture. You don't know whose car they're sitting on. You don't know which hotel they snuck into.
That's true. Apparently, there's people who like sit in first class to just take a picture and
At the
proceed
beginning of
to
the plane.
back. Or even after. And I'm like, it's not that deep. It's really not that deep.
hey, fake it till you make it. Honestly,
Bruh.
that's how you get your sponsorships.
Yeah,
That's how,
on the plane. Anyway, I think there's a hashtag that went around on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter that much, but it was kind of to do with how you take a picture on social media, but perhaps that it wasn't a representation of what you were at the time. I just forget what the hashtag was, but lots of people were re-uploading pictures and just giving a backstory to what the picture was. So someone is like, I look happy here, but I was actually battling with depression. Or here's a picture with me with my boyfriend at the time. We fought right before this picture was taken. And you see that it's really just pictures.
But do you think that people posting that is in its way also just trying to include yourself in this, like, this craze, getting this whole, like, sympathy, like, or...
I don't think it's... No.
Like, what, at one point
okay,
is
yeah,
it
maybe
genuine?
people like that. But for me, it was reaffirming. At least I know that there's real people on the other side. Because it is true. Like, one thing that I don't know. We could probably feel differently about this. But let's say couples on social media. At what point is it really just for you? Or when are people dating it for other people? Because there's some people who have these mad captions, and I'm like, bro, are you trying to convince us or yourself? Because I don't believe you're spending all your time together trying to get that perfect picture for social media.
Because taking pictures is hard.
Exactly.
Like, no one is getting a group picture, in fact, like with more than if you're not even if you're alone.
Yeah.
Like, on one shot, and you're like, yeah, that's the shot we need. That's the one we're posting. It's like, that's... I feel like if there's a profile of like two people like next to each other and their profile's like 100% like really good couple pictures, I feel like that's a testament to their relationship in some ways, because again, you're working together, the coordination that has to go in there.
I guess it's coordination, but I can see how some people do manufacture relationships for social media, because we as human beings like hashtag goals, relationship goals, and you have these people, and some of it just seems so contrived and staged and posy. And while love is good, it's not like I'm going around thinking everyone who posts a picture with their partner is secretly miserable. But there have been lots of cases where these people were like hashtag goals, and then it just all falls apart, and then you hear of the cheating or infidelity or craziness that was going on behind it. You're just like, wow, these are really just pictures.
So speaking of like social media relationships and things like that, do you think that with online dating and such, like, do you think online dating is a thing that works?
I wouldn't say I've really tried it. I would always create a Tinder profile, and then I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Because it feels like you pick what you think are your best pictures.
And then you put them
Yeah,
forward.
and you put them out there, and someone is going to judge you based on those pictures. And from my experience, guys don't even read the stuff that you write. They're just swiping on pictures. For some people, they swipe right in everything. So it's worked for some people. I have a coworker who's actually getting married to someone he met on. So I mean, it works. So some people, like, especially the lives that we live, you go to work, you go back home. When would you meet people? This isn't a society. There's not as many people who would reach out to a stranger, like on a bus or in a cafe, and say hi. So like online, I wouldn't stigmatize any. It doesn't have the negative connotation or stigma that it had before. So it's a valid way. But for me, quite frankly, it just felt weird. Because it feels like I'm shopping for people. And that made me uncomfortable.
So there's this YouTube video. It's by a channel called, I think, Jubilee.
Yeah.
So they do Tinder in real life.
Yeah.
So like they get like, let's say 30 guys and then put them in front of like a woman, and she has to literally swipe them in front of their face. And it's a very interesting watch. It's very hard to watch. Because like once you remove the...
Yeah, you wouldn't quickly disregard someone like that in real life.
It's intense. I do recommend it. It will... You'll stay on YouTube for like a good like 30... No, let's say 2 hours.
No, I think I have watched the Jubilee videos before, and it's just giving someone a chance. Because some people don't photograph well. There's that. Then there's some people who photograph well but don't look as nice in real life. And then some people would use their old pictures. Bruh, that was 30 pounds ago. So there's all of that. And then some people really just do have great personalities that just can be conveyed in like a profile. But different strokes for different folks.
Okay. All right. So going back to like the original topic, do you think a social media tax, like in the guise of being like a good thing, to like keep people into being having more physical interaction, do you think that's a good thing?
the funny thing is I listened to this podcast called Sadza in the Morning. So I remember the Zimbabwean government did do the shutdown, and the guys were joking about how for that brief moment people were able to go into their houses and look around and be like, oh, that's a TV. Oh, who's this person in my house? Is this my brother?
Oh, geez.
So it's good to take some time off, but I don't think the government should impose it. I feel free will is something that's very important, and the government shouldn't impose on that, because yes, we would like to preserve our culture, but the internet has also opened up so many possibilities to people. At least when you get to interact with different cultures, that's when you grow. Your way of thinking is changed. But it's good to have a detox where you step away from it once in a while, because legit there are times when people are hanging out and everyone's on their phone, and then when you depart, you're like, oh, had a great time, or I miss you. But you weren't together.
So
you were together, but not together.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves. So my girlfriend's family, okay, not family. Let's say their family have a thing where, like, when they like to watch movies together. Yeah. But the way they watch movies. It hurts inside.
What, they talk through the movie?
They talk so much. It'll be everybody's watching, and then people on their phones kind of thing. And then when something interesting happens, people start asking questions about what happened, how did we get here. Yes. They haven't paused the movie, by the way.
So it's still going.
And I've been there deep in this movie. I'm trying to watch this, and I'm just there like, just biting myself, just like, guys, please.
Yeah, so
I refuse to watch movies with them. I've made myself very vocal.
Okay. But at least they're able to listen to you. So I started going to the movies alone for that reason. So, I mean,
just to go watch a movie.
Yeah, undisturbed.
Because I went on a date once.
Careful now.
I'm not gonna mention names. But yeah, I went on a date with this girl, and we weren't even sitting in the back, so we're like somewhere in the middle, center. You know, the prime seat, the good
like
one.
Middle of the middle of the theater and middle, like, so you're in the middle of the screen.
Yeah,
I tried
a bit
to do
high
that
up
too.
there, but not too close to the screen. And she had her phone out, and it was bright. She didn't even reduce her brightness. I was. Ooh.
Scotiabank are kind enough to give you those messages at the beginning, asking you to not be that person.
So it was just, it's a huge pet peeve of mine. Like, be in the moment. I really do understand the whole, like, if the Ugandan government was seriously, like, trying to help, and it wasn't, like, trying to stop people from, you know, like, mobilizing, or, like, you know, getting together on, like, Twitter, or, like, you know, calling out the government for, you know, injustices, then I can see where they're coming from. I can see, in fact, there's $1 million idea. Put an app on your phone that just, like, blocks you out of all your social, like, changes your passwords for a week.
I don't want to say. Okay. Most Jews practice this thing where, like, for one day or, like, a period of time, you disconnect from all electricity or something, just for, like, a period of time. Just be without it. So I would encourage everyone to, like, just disconnect. Read a book.
Yeah.
Say hi to your mom. Call your mom.
Yeah.
Talk to the people around you.
Be in the, like, really be in the moment, because, like, I've gone a day when, like, you know, you lose your phone, or you forget it somewhere, and you, like, and you, like, leave the house, and it's actually quite, the first few minutes are quite, like, stressful if you don't know where your phone is, but then when you realize, hey, nobody really texts me. Nobody calls me.
Like, then why are you picking up your phone constantly?
Yeah, who are you checking up on? You know you're not texting people, because you
don't. It's
kind of
like the fridge. When you know what's in the fridge and you keep going
There's
back.
no food in the You keep going back to check. Yeah. Just like, hey, maybe.
Because that's me on Instagram sometimes. And because, you know, like, the timeline's messed up. So it's still the same stuff that
you're just scrolling through the same picture. You've already liked it. In fact, you haven't. You liked it mentally, but you haven't physically liked it, because you're just like, I don't want to show that I'm out here liking people's pictures. All right.
You do that? Just give the like, man. What does it take from you? It's not like you have a set number of likes, and Instagram's like, you can only give out these likes.
I only have 20 a day.
Exactly.
I want my, like, I don't know.
You want your likes to mean something?
I guess this is also a product of, you know, being on social media so much. It's your story. Yeah. So since you're the star of your story, when you like someone's picture, in your head, you're like, they will see that I've liked their picture. Well, in my head, like, I'm that, like, they'll see that I like their picture and be like, oh, wow, you notice? my picture. So, thanks, I guess. I don't know. It's
Not even.
I don't know.
Like, I
It's
know that we're all the protagonists in our own story, so from
Mhm.
your point of view, it's like that. But from someone else's point of view, they're just
It-
like, here is my photo, and it got mad likes.
Yeah.
So people like my content. It's all about me.
So you say you don't check who's liked your picture. You don't open that.
I don't check who's like my pic. I sometimes check who's watched my stories because, you know, people, like you said, maybe some people won't like your stuff,
Mhm.
but when you meet in real life, they're like, oh, I saw you here, or
Mhm.
oh, I know no one's obliged. But you see, that's how intrusive social media
Mm.
is, because, you know, there are times that I'm like, I'm taking a step back from Snapchat, because I'm like, before I used to want, you kind of want a large following with everything. It's a bit competitive. But then after, I'm like, no, this is hella
Who's-
intrusive.
Yeah.
I don't talk to you,
No.
so why would you need to see what I'm doing?
Oh, this has caused like so many like issues where I've met people and they know me
Uh-huh.
and they know me by like Mubanga. They won't even know me like by Benjamin or like Clifford or whatever.
Who's
Just-
Benjamin?
don't-
Who's Clifford?
That's a whole nother situation on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I had a guy come out to me and was like, "Hey, Mubanga, how's it going? It's been a while," and I'm like, "I don't know you."
I don't know you.
But like again, I can't put that out. So you just go into pretend you know this person mode. It's like, yo, hey, how's it been? How's school and stuff like that. It was many a time that's happened. I don't know. It's where you know people by their Instagram handle. You don't know what their real names are. It's
That's
like
totally legit.
so. It's just it's caused a lot of weird situations.
Okay, well, that was nice to know how we feel about social media. But hey, I don't know if we'll be like 40 and still trying to Snapchat at the party.
I mean, I think we will. Cause look at
People who Snapchat at the party. Like, you can snap at the beginning, snap at the end, but when you snap everything,
in
it
the
just doesn't,
club with the phone out.
it doesn't look nice while you're doing it, and it doesn't look nice when we're watching it, because we're like
the-
you weren't really at the party then.
Mhm.
You're a
That
correspondent.
I haven't been to a club in a while though. But the last again, you go there and it's just like bright screens. Everyone's just like
Yeah,
snapping.
Yeah.
Like the only people who are really having fun are the people who have had way too much alcohol. I'm just like, do we need another vice to get rid of
But
one?
you know what I like about that?
Mm.
When I go to a concert, I'll just, if there's a song I really like, I'll record it.
Mhm.
But part of me is also just like, all these people have their phones out. One of you better upload this to YouTube. Because I'll watch it now and I'll watch it again because you
Nice.
recorded it for me. So thank you.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about it.
I've been to one concert in my
It's a win. Oh, I feel like I am my mother's child because she loves live music
Okay.
and I love it too because
Mhm.
I appreciate the instruments
Okay.
and the fact that it's like live music. It's different. It's the atmosphere. I
It
was in
is.
the
It is
studio.
good. I really wanted to go to Jessie J's concert.
Okay, she came here.
She was here. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to. There's this group called Third Story,
Mm.
and they were really good.
You see,
They were really good.
I don't think I've been to a bad concert. Have I been? I don't think I've been to a bad concert. Legit.
I recommend Cafe du Soleil Thursday nights. They do
Open mic.
open mic, and it's usually the commercial drive musician
Uh.
types, but they're good.
If
They're
you-
good.
if you
The
say
atmosphere is
so.
good. It's a vegan restaurant, vegetarian restaurant.
What would I be doing there?
There's no dairy,
True. But what
so
did
you
I
can
be
eat
doing
anything
there?
you want.
Fries.
Yeah,
That's pretty much what I'd order.
those
at a
fries. They've
vegan
got like
restaurant.
chips and salsa. It's pretty cheap. It's like $5.
Okay.
It's a good time. I recommend.
I will give that a go. So that's it about social media. I feel like we will revisit this because this
It's
is
a
a
big-
big topic, a very, very big topic. But today we are going to talk about accents. Accent. Accents.
Oh,
So I don't know. What kind of accent do you think you have? Are you aware of your accent?
I'm very aware of my accent in that it's pointed out a lot to me.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes in genuine, like, clear-cut ways of, like, hey, you sound different than everybody else who is.
What do people guess? Or do they just say different, or do they say it sounds?
I've gotten weird. This weekend I got Haitian.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I got Haitian. I've gotten British. I've gotten French.
British.
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 I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, for me, in the
Mm.
beginning when we just got here,
Mhm.
people would, I guess American, which
Mhm.
was laughable. But I guess it's just because you're black and you can speak English, so people assume that you're
Mm.
just from across the border.
Mm.
Uh, but the funny thing about accents is that you only become aware of an accent when it's someone who's different from you, or at
Yeah.
least who doesn't sound like you. Because I remember having these cousins who lived in the UK for most of their lives, and they came over and they're like, "Oh, I can't really understand you because of your accent," and I laughed because you think this accent is something that's outside of you,
Yeah.
but everyone has
Everybody
an
who
accent.
doesn't speak with your
Yeah,
like tone and inflections has an accent. Right?
I guess. So, do you think that the accent you have now is something that you consciously curated, or it's just something that came to be?
Like okay, originally what I would say
Tell
was
us.
so growing up when I was in the my mom tells me that my the first words I spoke were in Bemba, which is my mother tongue.
Yeah.
But then I don't have memories of that. So those memories have just gone. Like the first things I ever remember saying were in English, as far as I can tell. And I feel like that was because of the school that I went to. It was a trust school. It was like from the days of colonialism ish.
Okay.
It still had a bit of that left in it. Like most of the kids were still white, and the teachers and like the staff were white. So like they'll be very speaking, and they're like old school British white.
Oh. So like when you were really young, the trust school still had a lot of white teachers. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember like you can find old like birthday party pictures, and it's just like this mix of white kids and like black kids, and it's like kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember even our neighbors were also Indian, so it was like very multicultural like experiences growing up. Like yeah.
Who knew Chingola was so diverse?
Who knew?
Anyway.
Yeah. So there was that. So the English set in. My mom was also a teacher, so she was very much like we did these school plays, and she was very much a project your words kind of person.
Your words.
Pronounce, because I think I mumble a lot.
Yeah, you do mumble.
I just do. I think I just do.
Okay.
I just mumble. And then we moved to South Africa when I was in the second grade.
Mhm.
And then I had to learn Afrikaans.
Did you even learn it?
I did. I remember speaking fluent Afrikaans with Afrikaans friends. Stay there like what, a good year?
What do you remember? Can you say anything?
Dit, asseblief, that means please. My naam is. I can survive.
Oh, you can survive. Okay.
I can survive. But if I start speaking a full sentence in Afrikaans, I'll start speaking Bemba. Like very legitimately, it would just switch and become Bemba.
Okay.
Yeah, so like then I went back to Zambia, and then that was when you're becoming older and trying to like fit in with the crowd.
Be
and things
cool,
like that.
American girls. Hey ma,
Not
what's
even
your number?
Not even that. I feel like I grew up a bit sheltered. Like we weren't necessarily extremely rich or anything like that, but we were well, a well-off family. But then the people that seemed to have more fun were the a bit more like kids from like rural areas and things like that. So you'd want to fit in with them. But then if you go up to that crowd speaking with your like quote unquote proper English, you're kind of like the butt of every joke and things like that. So you try to like fit in, but then it just never clicked for me. Like I feel like at some point I was good, but I even remember even in high school like being made fun of for like terribly speaking like Bemba or Nyanja or any language of that sort.
So do you feel bad when I tease you for terribly speaking?
Nah. Not even. I can survive. I can
I know you can survive because you do understand.
Mm-hmm.
I know understanding someone is not a problem. It's, I guess, just speaking it back because there's terms and verbs and
there's
all
certain
of that.
things you can't like really say it.
Okay,
Right.
no, that's totally fair. So I guess your accent is a culmination of your life experiences.
Yeah. Plus, I watched too much TV, I think.
And too much TV.
Yeah, you're just imitating, yeah.
Okay, I guess it's weird for me. It's just because you know about parroting, right? So you're just like trying to sound like the person speaking to you so that they can understand you. So I got through pretty much university because most of my friends were Africans.
Okay.
So I probably still had a semblance of my accent, which I'd say is probably Nyanja. So it's more predominant when I'm speaking to people from home
Mhm.
or like my friends because that's what they sound like, or we both bring it out of each other.
Mhm.
But then you start working and you're spending 40 hours plus with,
Mhm.
I'll say Canadians,
Mhm.
and so you're trying so hard to be understood. At some point, I hated that I would begin to stutter, which is not a bad thing, but it was because I was
Trying
so
to, like-
bent on concentrating on how to pronounce the words right
Mhm.
that it was hard for me to just like coherently and comfortably speak.
Mhm.
But it's like, when do you get comfortable enough in yourself to not change your accent? Because I am impressed with how Nigerians never lose their accents. And that's no shade, no tea, but it stays. And that's, I guess, it's
Okay.
code switching. So maybe some
Mhm.
people do that because you realize that when you're at work, you speak one way.
Mhm.
But then when you're with your friends, you speak with your colloquialisms and your accents.
I know several Nigerians with that. Like, I'll meet them in this setting,
Yeah.
and you swear they're from like the UK.
Mm-hmm.
You meet
Bronx,
them,
Matting.
you meet them in this other setting, and you just like it's a completely different person, which I find like I find that very interesting, like how it's just like you're basically two different people, but then what's the original version of you? What like who are you really
But
then? Like,
it's survival because
Mm.
my voice on the phone. I have a white lady inside of me who can call up customer service and get a refund in under 5 minutes. And all my friends know this because I'm that person. But in real life, I'm not as aggressive. So it's like fitting
Yeah.
in with whichever environment needs it.
I feel like that. Yeah, especially being here in. I feel like the fear of being looked down upon because of like like your skin color or something
Is
like
it
that.
So is it a fear of being like, or just trying to fit in?
I'd say it's not necessarily trying to fit in for me in particular. It's more of a I don't want anybody to look down upon me because of any difference. Like I want you to know that, like, if anything, I feel like that's why your accent goes. If anything, like my way of speaking shouldn't be like a drawback. Like you're not better than me because of how how you speak versus how I speak, kind of thing.
No, I get that.
Like almost a defense mechanism. It's like
Yeah, I feel like defense mechanism is a better way to put it because,
Mhm.
like, in the end of the day, we're not really, because what makes us different is what makes us beautiful. And for
Mhm.
me, it's like, did I lose my accent because I was trying to fit in, or some of it is instinctual, like I said, the whole parroting thing. You're
Mhm.
really just trying to be understood by someone else.
Mhm.
But there is a case in point, like you said. I know there are times when I've probably changed my name on my resume because you've
Mhm.
probably heard of that study
Oh,
where
yeah.
you have an ethnic sounding name and compare the exact same resume with like an English name,
Mhm.
and the English name will get chosen. So it's just like playing the society at the game that it has,
Mhm.
I would say. But I know my accent comes on and off, and there are times when I'm at home and my mom's like, please turn that Canadian stuff off. Turn that Canadian stuff off. And I'm like, what stuff? I'm just talking how it's like all of the I mean, I'm like, that's how I talk. Or do you want me to talk
Now,
like this?
Imagine that now, Mike. Literally my whole life.
What?
Like that's
So
literally
that's been you your whole life?
every single time like my mom's friends were over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember before coming to Canada, like they were having their usual like get-togethers.
Yeah.
They have a few drinks or whatever, and then one of my mom's friends was like, "Now you fit in all right there. You already speak like that. you already talk
speak
like this."
that.
I'm just like, but I don't.
Yeah, but you know, the funny thing is quite, I guess, because we do grow up speaking English.
Mhm.
Like English is a predominant. We do learn in English,
Mhm.
and like there's a lot more social media, and people grow up watching GSTV.
Mhm.
A lot of Zambians actually have like these
really?
accents, that are pretty clear.
Mhm.
And there's what did mommy say? So there's like those nuances, like from maybe speaking so much
Yeah.
Nyanja. But other than that, I can see why most people probably went with America. Like, it was easy for people to understand
Mhm.
us. That was never really a problem. And it's not something that I'm happy about. I'm actually kind of sad that I lost my accent. I wish it stayed constant
Mhm.
enough. But I don't know.
Like I would have liked to like speak the language like more fluently.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like having a second language is always like a plus, no matter what language that is. Like it's you can communicate completely differently. Like it puts you on like such another like level, which is really really cool thing. Plus, so my girlfriend Hannah
Mm-hmm.
is really into linguistics right now,
Okay.
and she loves the whole, like, the ba sound.
Yeah.
Like
Ba.
there's almost no explanation for it, like how we use it really. It's like the B, like, so it's just fascinating. She like had conversations
What
about
do
it.
you mean how we use it?
Like so like
In our traditional languages or just the everyday?
like not like va as the word va, like my name, like Mubanga, like when there's a B just and then the word Bemba or Chibemba,
Oh.
like when is it a hard B, when is it like there's no real, like no one has really written the rules of the
Oh,
language,
that's true.
like phonetically and like spelled it out, and like when you use it like this next, like I before E except after C, like it's more just like it's a tradition that's been passed on. It's like an oral tradition, like
wow.
this is just how it's spoken. So like yeah, like she spelled out my name for my teacher and then pronounced it, and the teacher was just like, it's I don't know, no, you can, yeah. So it's like I wish that I could give her more context. I also like when you like say a sentence in Bamba and then you like translate it to English, like the direct translation, really fun. Like
Lete chochi. Okay, let me try again. Lete chochi mbale.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
So
sound right.
bring that
Lete
thing.
no. Oh my goodness. My Nyanja is so much better, guys. Bemba, I struggle.
Wait, what are they? Mwashivuken.
Yeah, Mwashivuken.
Like how have you woken up?
Yeah, Mwashivuken. Shivukeni, woken up.
Yeah, like
Nashivuka, woken up.
yeah. So it's like how have you woken up? If you like directly translate it, just like
yeah.
It's like how have you woken up? Like it makes the language actually very almost caring in a sort of like.
No, I find that because there are often times when people add a loss of words to directly translate it to English because you feel like there isn't an English word that could
really
capture the essence of what it is that you're trying to say. Because there's always that joke if you tell someone like, oh, ichimutwe. And versus your head.
Yes.
Or walitumpa versus you're stupid. It doesn't carry the same. And I think our language is pretty dramatic. It can be when it needs to be. Yeah, when you're patch today. Oh, look at what he did.
Look at what he did.
Yeah. So, guys, sorry, I just get very animated. Look at the spikes.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, it's interesting to have. Plus, again, going back to like, you remember when we spoke about, like, let's say in a world where I have kids, like, am I gonna try to teach them? Like, I would be teaching them the completely wrong things, if anything.
But it's something, and I feel that for people who can't speak, that's something they feel that they do miss out on. Because I know, like, it all goes back to like colonialism, where let's say people who were like, let's say directly so the effects of colonialism, some people came out of it 2 different ways. Some people are just like, okay, we're trying to assimilate. Kids are born English only names, who only speak English in this house, whatever. Then there's some people who are just like, we don't want anything to do with that traditional names. Let's speak our traditional language and only speak English when it needs to be spoken. And I mean, when you see some of the names coming up in Zambia, of course, it's now a generation having kids, so you won't have names like Cadence or Asia or Jaden. But it's good to keep tradition alive because that is how it's passed out. Like you said, linguistics, what Hannah said, there is no written rule for some things, but the art of storytelling and through a language, there's that connection. So even if you are in Canada, there's that connection to home, to Zambia. If you do speak a second language, no matter how small or mangled that the language is, and that if you do go back, there's something about you, that part of home that you have, that you can pick up from, versus not having anything at all and going back.
I know that I do know that if I did have kids, like I will give them Zambian names. Okay,
do you have the names? There's so many Mubangas in our family, so just chill off of that.
For starters, like I do want to have girls.
Why do the guys always want to have?
Because guys are trash.
The men are trash.
So I'm probably gonna name one Maluba. Which means flowers. Yeah. And I was thinking Chavala.
What does Chavala mean?
I don't know, but I just love the way it sounds.
Chavala.
Yeah.
Shout out to Auntie Chavala.
Shout out to Auntie, for sure.
The realist.
The realist out there. But yeah, I do want to name like my kid Maluba.
But so you want Chavala and Maluba?
Because of the business now and again. But okay, it was either, those are the 2 names for one person. I don't want Chavala and Maluba, but like I'll either name one of the kids Chavala or Maluba. But most likely Maluba.
Oh, there's Namaluba too.
Oh, Namaluba.
And flowers. I knew it was a guy's name, but I think he was probably teased about it because it meant flowers. But I don't know if Namaluba means and flowers. So it's like on top. I just don't know how it differs so much from Maluba, Maluba, na Maluba.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so it's linguistics.
This is a whole linguistics thing.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Oh, that's so nice that you have the names picked out.
Like, yeah. I was gonna mention something about like how like you also kind of want to like name kids after their grandparents and things like that.
There's that, but how would people pronounce it here? Because I have to spell Kondwani every time I'm on the phone. Konk.
Like-
Vualaka is even worse because apparently the V sounds like B sometimes. So I'm always
Vualaka.
like V as in Victor,
Yeah.
WALI. So if you name your kid Namaluba, it'll be like Namaluba? Because people can't pronounce Muila. People always call her Moila, Mila. And I have a cousin in Seattle. She's Chitalu. But
And
just
people
to make
can
it
say Chitalu.
easier, everyone calls her Talu.
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 Talu. Talu.
Yeah, or you'd be like Talu. But for her, it's Talu.
Talu. Yeah, I can see that.
So is it
Yeah, like it'll be one of those things where like as long as the kid knows how to say it, then that's all that really matters to me. Like they'll have the same struggle that I have going around saying it's Mupanga. It's like a B but a V, but it's also an H, and they're like Vang. Like we'll have that whole situation. At least they'll have that experience. At least they'll have a name like they can look back to. And I know like at some point they'll probably be like, yeah, they don't mention it or they don't bring it up because like like you might get to. I don't know what racial relations are going to be like in the future.
I wouldn't say I get tired. A part of me is just like, I don't feel like spelling out my name. So I'll just use Grace, which is my middle name. Because I call it my white people name.
White people name.
Because it is just, Konwani is 8 letters.
It's a lot.
I could just say Grace and be over and done with it.
Yeah, that's why I had... Okay, but to be fair, I chose Clifford Benjamin before I came to Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, it just happened to work out. But even when I say Ben, I think, again, because I mumble, I'll be like, Ben, and you come, like, you go pick up your food or whatever, and it's like, Dan? I'm like, I don't know. I've gotten Dan so many times.
No, but I now insist, and people actually learn the name. And I'm actually impressed as to how easily it comes to people's tongues after that. Because some people swear. Okay, and I found it's easier for people to read it versus hearing me saying it. Because it sounds exactly as it's spelled for me.
Kondwani,
So it's so much easier. Because people are always like, well, do you have anything shorter? And I'm like, no. Do you have any nickname? No. It's Kondwani. Kondwani or Kondwani.
So I feel like wherever I'm gonna go to next, like with the work, I'm probably gonna go by Muvanga.
Okay.
Yeah, cause like again, I've stayed at my current job like for long enough. Like people are now like, I got to have like those like instant messaging things for at work. So I was messaging people and they're like, wait, who's this Muvanga? I'm like, then they're like, why do you go by Ben? And it's like, I started with Muvanga, then like no one could say it, so I went to Ben, and now all of a sudden everyone's like, "Hey, but it's such a nice name."
Is it hard for you to answer? Are you able to answer as fast to both?
Yeah.
Because at times I think when someone would be like Grace, and I'm like, who's this Grace?
Yeah, I can answer
like,
to both.
That's me.
If anything, the people that call me Muvanga have put it like go out of their way to do it. So I'm like, but it gets weird because I'll be out in public and then somebody calls that name. I'm just like, I have like 3 people that call me by that. So just be like, you start like having flashbacks to your mom calling you because you're in trouble or something. Just like, I'm just like, hold up, am I in trouble? So you look around and it's like, oh, okay, nah. And just like, yeah, it always gets weird. You start thinking you're hearing voices.
Yeah, but I think we can just kind of close off. I think for me, what kind of opened my eyes to it, well, maybe the woke people all these things, but when Trevor Noah was, because he's pretty good with these accents, and he's just like, for the longest, at least he understood that people tend to associate the African accent with ignorance and laziness and all. So maybe part of us is let me speak for myself. Part of me was ashamed for that. You want to appear learned because you think all these people who study abroad and come back with these accents just appear to be so distinguished, but the educated Africans exist. That is something that exists, and you just have to be like proud of who you are and where you come from. And so I will still struggle with trying to be who I am, but also knowing that part of it is just where I am, and I have little to no control over it. But I do know that my accent changes depending on who I'm.
Yeah, who you're talking to, like who you're around, kind of thing. Yeah, it was what it is, honestly. Like,
I don't have as a robust life experience as you, so I don't have any other language to blame.
Boarding school, like talking to different people, getting different different languages, because you can like. I feel like even just the differences between speaking like Bemba and Nyanja, like people have different like accents almost.
Yeah.
It's like going from a school that was in like Lusaka to a school that's like in where's
Alamami. But people always say, I have an uncle who's like, you don't suit your Nyanja accent, because apparently people think that Bemba is a classier language than Nyanja. I swear there's people who feel that way. But I love my Nyanja. I'm okay with my Bemba.
Okay, I feel like I can see why people would think that.
Because like lots of Bembas are rich?
No, it's not even lots of Bembas are rich. It's like the reputation that Lusaka has. Like the majority of people who like speak Nyanja
are
like you know you get like
around the edges.
Yeah, you know you get the rappers.
I'm getting heated, yo.
Like you get the quote unquote cool, the cool Lusaka guys, or the conductors and the bus drivers. They just have like.
But Lusaka's where it's at.
Exactly, it's the big city. It's the Brooklyn accent.
I guess people are just mad that they're not from LSK, the Berg.
it's the Brooklyn accent of
Okay.
of Zambia. So, hey, I'm walking over here.
Is that the Brooklyn or is that the Boston?
Boston. I don't know. It's that kind of thing. It's where like it doesn't mean you're uneducated or anything. It's associated with the.
No, but people do say that. Like he like I swear Bembas think that they are God's gift to the earth, but I'm half Bemba, so I can.
You can
do
choose
that,
which.
But
a bit of both. I don't know, Bemba. I honestly don't know. Like every time I think of a Zambian, an educated Zambian, or somebody speaking like in a local language, but in like an educated way, I think of I think like the only examples that I really have where people like stick to that like language is like preachers and things like that. Because like even if you have somebody who's like a professor or something, they usually stick to English when they're speaking. Or like my experience with them is them speaking in English. Yeah. So.
You know what my dream is? To one day have. Because I know people can learn English as extra subjects, so that I know that the languages were taught as these other examinable topics that you'd learn in high school. But I hope we can get to a point where people actually learn in Bemba and Nyanja. Because have you seen the movie Roma on Netflix?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, no, it's really good. I think it's been nominated for an Oscar. The actress, this was her acting debut, but speaks Mexican. She came to the red carpet and she needed a translator. So there's really no need for us to kind
Mexican isn't a language.
I know, but there's no need for us to laugh at our athletes, let's say, when they have these like interviews and then they blunder the English. Like, why not just have someone translate for them when they could speak and then subtitles that exists? But I'm like, because this always used to tickle me, because I'd be like, so for someone who's never learned English, they think in Bemba? And that just tickled me. But I'm like, that's all they know, so that makes sense to them. That's
Same
how they.
Thing with like a French.
That's how they
like
think.
French speaker.
Yeah, and that's how they hear the world.
That's how they dream.
Italians have Italian scientists who probably barely know a few words of English, and they learn and they thrive. Yeah. So for us, you first have to learn English, and then you have to learn. Why not remove that step?
Comes back to the whole like colonialism and all that whole situation. Yeah. Because like they're like, if you want to be smart, you have to learn our language. Therefore, it's like the education system was kind of like created around English speakers or Latin whatever kind of thing.
It gets me hot, but that's where I'm at. So like just Trevor, no, just saying the things that are associated with the accent. But I know like lots of we are smart people. Yeah. And I don't doubt that for a second, because at times, okay, no, I should not say that. I want to keep my job. So. No, but I'm just like it also goes back to like imposter syndrome. So you're trying to fit in so much, but you have this. You don't doubt yourself. Like you have something to listen to, and being different is not something that should scare you. It's okay to stand out for the right reasons. So it's okay to stand out. That's my takeaway.
Be unique.
Do you have any parting words? I know you could close it out. Like anything any like a sum up, a wrap up, parting words.
Wow. Parting words. Honestly, be your best you for you. Like,
that's important.
Like as much as it is really hard to find that place where like you're doing the best like version of yourself for yourself. Like it's really hard to like get to that point, because like with all the topics we've talked about, like social media, if you're posting, post for you. Like like all these YouTubers have made it big. It's usually they were making videos because they wanted to make videos.
Okay, but let me give you a case in point. What if I'm posting for me and I just like mad stairs? Okay, no, there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
I can see people would
Like,
okay, like
if
let's
you
say
like it.
I just post pictures of my finger every day, and I'm posting that
You'd
for
be
me.
surprised. Do that 100 times. I bet you it's going viral. Like, do that 100 times.
I mean, an egg got 1 million likes. The world we live in today.
They posted another picture of an egg, and I'm just like, you shouldn't have. Like, I could see that it got over their heads. The power went to their heads. They're like, let's post another one. I'm like, no. You should have left it at one egg.
It did make sense to me, and when I had to Google it and find out what this whole hubbubaloo was about, I'm like, wow.
The power went to their head.
Social media.
They've got a merch store. They've got a blue tick mark on Instagram.
Hey, verification is the first step.
That's
If you
the
don't
first
have
step.
merch, you ain't talking about.
Link merch in bio.
Yeah, link merch down in the description, all of it.
But yeah, no, like, just be your best you for you. Like, yeah.
Well,
It's a tale as old as time. If you can't love yourself, how can you love anybody else?
damn. Thanks, Benjamin.
You are very welcome.
Of course. So
Thank you
thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 3.
Episode 3.
Yes,
Nice.
So we hope to see you come back and visit us again.
I will definitely be back. I'm coming back for the siblings battle. The battle of the
course.
siblings.
I will save that for like reserve when we bring
representing the middle kids out here.
All right. So this has been Kondwani and
Ubanga Clifford Benjamin Ngosa.
And signing off. So we hope to see you next time. Please make sure to like our page on Facebook. What's the spiel? Like, comment, subscribe. But anyway,
comment, and subscribe.
Please follow us on Instagram. You can find us there on Twitter. So just search for One Kwacha Media or One Kwacha Podcast. It will pop up. It's the only one. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bum 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 bum.